Hey everyone! I am so excited to get talking with you about contracts today. But before we start, I'm going to have to go in and tell you my disclaimer, like usual, that the information that I'm sharing on this video is for information purposes only and for educational purposes, is not meant to be legal advice for you. I am not your attorney. We don't have an attorney-client relationship or any type of attorney-client privilege as well. So with that being said though, let's dive in. So have you guys ever had a time when you have entered into a business relationship, and maybe recently it's more relevant just because of everything that's been happening with COVID, or in the past also you've had that experience where something has happened and somebody couldn't deliver on their contractual promises, if you even had a written contractual promise. So have you been in that bind before? I mean, I know a lot of people, we can raise our hand, no shame, we've all been there, done that. And it's good that you've had that experience only because you know what the importance of having a contract, a written contract. And you know, you can have oral contracts, you can have oral agreements, but really at the end of the day, it's really hard to prove, and it becomes a he said, she said matter, especially in court. And so the idea is to really write down the agreement that both parties have on a piece of paper and have them sign it. And you know, the agreement, the contract is so much more than just the words on the contract. It has to be representative of what both parties are thinking and what both parties are wanting. So there's a meeting of the minds, and there's an understanding that what one party is delivering, one party is paying. So there's an offer, there's an acceptance, there's consideration, which is called money, and then there's a mutual understanding of what's going on, which are all elements of what a contract is made of. So on the legal side, that's what the courts are looking for. And so we want to make sure that that information is put on a piece of paper. And if you've ever been in that bind where someone's not paying you because they said, well, you know, our agreement was that, you know, we were going to pay X amount of dollars and you were going to give X amount of things, but then you had discrepancy on that. Well, if you had a contract, that issue wouldn't arise. If you had a contract, there would be clarity and of the expectations, and also the understanding of what is to be delivered from both ends. And so that's why I keep stressing how important a contract is. Even in today's quarantine, COVID times that we are in, people who did have contracts are still facing issues. So having a contract doesn't mean that you're not going to face an issue or there won't be a dispute. It's not negating those. However, what it does do is it mitigates the disputes, or it kind of acts as a deterrence to a possible dispute as well. And so when I say mitigation, what I mean is that it's lessening the impact, and also you guys, you know, both parties can just defer to this contract that you have written. And it's really important to have that, and it's really important to understand it also. It's important that if somebody is giving you a contract, you understand the terms of the contract. And if you don't, go to an attorney before you sign that contract and make sure you get explanations and understanding, because at the end of the day, I have had many clients who have signed a contract that was given to them, and they didn't realize that they had given away a lot of their rights to any content that they were creating, or they have given away rights that they didn't mean to give away, but they just didn't understand the legalese that was part of that contract. So it's so important to have a contract that reflects the understandings of both parties, but then also you understand the contract that you are getting yourself contractually bound to. So those are two very important things. And so I wanted to take that in and just say, you know, when you think about contracts, you know, a lot of times people are just thinking, oh, we need a client contract, which is great. You need a client contract. You need to make sure that your clients and you are on the same page when you're working with them. But also, there's so many other contracts that you can have. And so I'm going to kind of go through some of those contracts with you guys so that if you don't have it, you have now the opportunity to maybe get one. And if you don't want to deal with it, then I have other options available for you too. So you don't have to like go out of your way, and you know, where you can have some ease to your pocket as well. But anyways, okay, let's move on. And so some of the contracts that, you know, sometimes people don't think about, because at the time the relationships are great and everything just seems so rosy and happy, which I'm so happy and I hope it stays that way. But sometimes things just don't. And, people want to exit, people want to part, people want to terminate, they want to move on, whatever the reasons might be. And so, having those contracts in place really helps define those pivots in the relationship as well. And so the first contract that you might want to think about is a general partnership agreement. So say you have a business and your business is with one or more partners. I hope you have a contract, because it really helps define that relationship. It helps define the expectations and helps define the roles of each partner in the business. Is one person just going to be dealing as a operations manager? Is one person dealing with money? Is one person dealing with sales? And then how much money does each person bring in, and how much money they get back? What are the salaries and what are the expectations at the end of the day? And then if somebody wants to leave, how do they exit that relationship? What happens if something happens to somebody? And so these are all issues that hopefully won't happen. But if they do, then you have a roadmap to guide you. And that roadmap is your business partnership agreement. It kind of defines the if this happens scenario and then how to resolve that scenario. And so it really helps out in the moments when you feel like you're in a bind, but you can easily defer to your contract and get some guidance. And following along those lines, then also if you have an LLC, and if you do have an LLC, then if you are a single member LLC or a multi-member LLC where you have more than one person owning that company, you should have an operating agreement or a company agreement. And the reason for that is because the company agreement is just essentially like how the company runs and how the company is operating with its members. So it's your contractual binding relationship with the company, but then if you have multi-member companies, then it's also your relationship with those members as well. And it's really important to have that because, again, just like I said with the general partnership agreement, it defines the relationship and really sets it in place as to what every person's role is, what money they're bringing in, what they can do, they cannot do, and who owns the company's property at the end of the day as well, like the intellectual property or the assets of the company. And so that really helps define the relationship between the member and the company and the member to member as well. So those are some really, if you don't have it, I would really think about getting it into place. Even if you've already started your partnership, you can definitely have a partnership agreement now. It's never too late. And then going a little bit deeper into the business now, on the business side of things, some contracts that you might need are the client agreement, your client contract. Whether it's a B2B business or a B2C business, you should have a client contract. And sometimes those client contracts are just purchase orders, or they could be an actual client contract where the client is retaining you for certain types of services, and this is the kind of services you're offering, this is the money, what happens if you need to terminate, or if there needs to be cancellation or rescheduling, which has been so relevant right now. So all of these things are defined in your contract, along with force majeure, along with the choice of law and how you're resolving a dispute in the event it gets to a point where both parties are just not coming to an amicable agreement. What do you do then? And so the contract defines that. It gives you a roadmap again. And so it's really, really important to have that in there. And it's important to have one so you can manage the expectations of all the parties, which is so important. Because at the end of the day, your client does not know how you run your business. And a contract really helps you to define the parameters of your business and also define the relationship between you and the client. But you're also managing your client's expectations as well, which, sometimes it's not their fault if they ask for things, because if you as a business owner have not defined it or have shown it to them, then they don't know any better. And so this is a great way to set certain things contractually that are really important to your business, and then other things that are in the parameters that may not be necessarily legal, but it's kind of like the way your business runs. You can definitely add that in your marketing, or in your welcome packet, or in your phone call, or on your website. Just something that doesn't necessarily, that's more marketing, that's more puffery, but it's not contractually, then I wouldn't put it in there. But it's really important to have that client contract. And along the same lines, you want to have the third party or the vendor B2B agreements as well. And that's just because you want to make sure that if you're especially you're acting like a general contractor, say you're an event planner and you're hiring all these people, you want to make sure that they are doing their job, because ultimately if they don't do their job, it affects your job and your services and your performance. So you want to make sure that aspect of your business is defined when you're hiring somebody, and they know what services they have to offer. They also know that if they can't offer it last minute, then what they need to do, and also they have to take responsibility. So it's really important to have those, because it's all a chain, and if one link breaks, then it can affect everybody else in a domino effect. So you want to make sure that you are covering and protecting your business in that aspect also, because when those links break, it will impact everybody, but you want to make sure that you are cushioning that impact as much as you can. And then, it goes into your, aside from, the third parties that are involved in your business, you also have people who are internally involved in your business, people you hire to work for you. Whether it's an employee or an independent contractor, you want to have a contract. Now, Texas is an at-will state. You don't necessarily need a contract because it's at will. However, sometimes it's really good to have it, because, it sets the foundation of that relationship. Plus, it defines how much money they're going to be paid and what the expectations are from the business, and also their job requirements. And so, it's good to have definition. It's good to have parameters set. And, detail is good, but over detail can be too much, because then you're limiting yourself. But then less detail can also be a problem, because there's not enough scope and it's not a good definition. And so you want to make sure you have a healthy balance between both of those. And along with the employee contract and independent contractor agreement, sometimes you need a non-disclosure agreement, whether that's with a third party, whether that's with somebody that's working for you. Sometimes you're just sharing a lot of proprietary information, either together or independently. You want to make sure that that information is properly and safeguarded between the two parties. And last but not least, also there is a licensing agreement. So a lot of times, you have your brand name or you have product that you're creating. You want to have a licensing agreement in place. So that way the other party knows that you're not giving them ownership. You're allowing them to use your product or your name or your brand or whatever you own, and you're allowing them to use it for certain purposes. And so licensing agreement is very important, because you can only give it through a written instrument anyways. So that's why it's important to have it, because by word of mouth or by email is not good enough. It has to be a written instrument that is signed by both parties, especially the person who's giving the license away. So I hope that was helpful. And I know that was a lot of information, and I know legal can be super overwhelming at times, because that's the feedback that I get all the time. So I try to make it as easy as possible. However, to even make it easier, I have launched my Your Contract Buddy. It is an online template shop. So in the event you just don't want to deal with this, you can just go download a contract template and easy peasy plug in your information. Because really, I want at the end of the day for you to protect yourself as best as you can. And this is my way of helping you, because it's easy, it's affordable, and it's legally sound too. And so check it out. It's yourcontractbuddy.com, and spread the word. So thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.